Hi everyone, this is Mushroom Games. How are y'all doing? I'm just chilling outside because it's a beautiful day. Anyways, I know why you're all here, so let me get started. Today I will be showing you how to make a Japanese Chinese style forced perspective. Another YouTuber, 𝒖𝒄𝒕, made a great video on what forced perspectives are and how to create them. So today I'll be showing you how you can add an East Asian twist on forced perspectives. So first off, what is a forced perspective? A forced perspective is a technique which employs optical illusions to make objects appear further away, closer, larger, or smaller than they actually are. In Animal Crossing, we will use this technique to make objects appear larger and more distant. For instance, in 𝒖𝒄𝒕's video, he placed campers next to a lighthouse to make the campers seem significantly larger and farther away. There are various objects you can use, many from Gulliver, where you can make forced perspectives since these objects are a lot larger in reality, but are small in the game. Aside from the typical lighthouse and campers that people have been utilizing to make their forced perspectives, there are a variety of objects that can be used to make a unique and epic forced perspective. For instance, you could make a European-themed forced perspective using the Tower of Pisa, or you can make a Godzilla robot battle using the Godzilla and robot statues with the doghouses as mini buildings. If you all want me to put together variations of forced perspectives, let me know in the comments below. Since we are adding an East Asian twist on forced perspectives, I'll be using the pagoda as my centerpiece. A pagoda is a tiered tower that is common to many Asian cultures such as China, Japan, Korea, and many more countries. Other elements I'm going to include in my Japanese-Chinese forced perspective are the China stone pillars in the 𝒖𝒔𝒊𝒄 National Forest Park of the northern Hunan province. Fun fact, these stone pillars also influenced the scenery in the movie Avatar. I'm also going to add a train that is similar to the older trains in Japan, such as the 𝒖𝒔𝒊𝒄 𝒂𝒊𝒄 train. This will add a spirited away-like feel to my forced perspective. Alrighty, let's start terraforming and putting things together. I made this forced perspective demonstration at the front of my town since I ran out of space everywhere else on my island. But I highly recommend you add your forced perspective to the back of your town since there won't be any objects behind it to ruin the illusion. I started with terraforming a layer of the back of the forced perspective so I could add waterfalls to my scenery. This version of the forced perspective is rather large, so I made a mini version of it in a separate video that I'll link at the end. Make sure you place your mini objects on the ground level, such as your vehicles or buildings. Before placing the objects, I recommend you map out where you want to place certain features of your forced perspective. Since mine is rather large, I marked the locations of my features with the paths to map out certain areas where I'm going to add the stone pillars and the courtyard custom design I made. You don't need to use custom designs to make a forced perspective, but it enhances the illusion of the scenery. Since many areas in China and Japan are mountainous, the layer in the back adds texture and will allow you to make a nice waterfall that will complement your pagoda. Right now I'm terraforming water to enhance the look of my stone pillar area. You don't need water or a waterfall to make a nice Chinese or Japanese scene. In my alternate video, I'll show you how you could use the stone in the back to make a smaller version of a forced perspective. After adding the water, I placed a train track custom design I made for my train. By the way, the train I used is called a throwback container. Then I used cherry blossom bonsais I crafted from the cherry blossom season at the beginning of April to act as large cherry blossom trees in the scenery. After adding all the objects, you'll need to make an observation point on the third layer to create the illusion that the objects are farther down. The third layer should be connected to a landmass that is already existing, and it should be at least as wide or wider than the forced perspective area to surround it. Since I made this at the front of my town, the observation area is small and isn't connected to any land, so it looks quite odd, so definitely try to make this near the back of your town. Back to custom designs, I added the codes for the ones I made below. I'm pretty proud of how my train tracks turned out, but the courtyard is not that perfect since I made it super quick. So the rails aren't evenly spaced and the rock pattern isn't super accurate. You can all definitely make a better courtyard pattern yourselves. For the next step, you'll need to terraform the edges of the second and third layer of the observation point in a diagonal shape. This will cover up the edges of the train tracks and make it seem like the layers are too large to see over, making the illusion that the train is riding off in the distance rather than just stopping at the edge of the scene. To do this, Make squares that are at least 2 by 2 spaces, which will allow you to smooth out the edges in a diagonal manner as you see here. After making the edges, create the observation deck using normal-sized objects such as the torus, telescopes, and fences to create more depth. You can also use benches and lights. Placing these objects here will amplify the illusion of the forced perspective, since the objects in the foreground are larger and closer than the mini objects below. After that, you can decorate the observation deck however you like. I added a stone path to make a more city-like feel to the deck, as if we were looking down from a city. I also used the rope fences to block off the edges of the cliff without blocking the nice view. So it looks like we're done. What do y'all think? I initially wasn't planning on adding a forced perspective to my town, but after making this, I decided to recreate it behind my Japanese Chinese village. I tore down my work-in-progress Zen garden to make a similar version of what I made here. Except I had less space, so I had to change it up a bit to accommodate this. Alright, let's do this again. Thank you everyone for watching my video and supporting me on my channel. I appreciate all the encounters I had on my Animal Crossing journey, as well as all of your wonderful comments. If you're new, check out my island projects on my Japanese Chinese village and museum. I'm going to post a time-lapse of me making a smaller version of this forced perspective really soon for those of you who don't have space in your town. Thank you all again, and stick around for more videos to come in the next few weeks. Also, stick around for some 𝒘𝒊𝒕𝒉 and watch me finish terraforming this thing.